welcome to Ring the Bell. My name's Joey, I'm the Dead Bod Demigod, and joining me as always is...
the interdimensional Shiro Moxie Valley.
Come on, Justin Roberts. I love that. Today we have to talk about WarGames. I don't know if I can ever say WarGames without hearing William Weagle's voice again.
Or even saying war, like WarGames.
Last night's WarGames was intense. We got to see Team Shotzi take on Team Candice LeRae to kick off the 2020 WarGames. Let's be real, all of 2020 feels like WarGames. It's been kind of intense. Last night, these four women kicked off the show in spectacular fashion. It was Team Shotzi, which consisted of Shotzi Blackheart, Rhea Ripley, the women's champion Io Shirai, and Ember Moon going up against Team Candice, which consisted of Candice, Toni Storm, Raquel González, and Dakota Kai.
I would love to sit here and say, let's pick the top two that had the best performance, and then let's critique the bottom two that had maybe not the greatest performance. But honestly, this match is what the NXT women's division is all about. Not one person had a weak performance. There was ups and downs, as there often are in these matches that have several different people. But this match was stellar.
It was stellar. And then, as I was saying last night on the live stream, all 8 of these women are just built up so well storyline-wise. You could literally take any woman and put her up against Io Shirai for a women's championship match, and it feels earned and it feels congruent. Getting to see 8 performers who were literally at the top of their game go at it last night, and it just shows how well NXT has built their women's division.
Yeah, and going back to when we did weekly reviews, there's many women in this match that we haven't been fond of every single match of their career. But even those women, probably the one we most critique would be Candice. Like, she was on it. Phenomenal. They all brought not just their A game, but whatever comes before A, before the alphabet or language existed, they brought that.
Someone that you have to also take note of, Indy Hartwell looked impressive last night.
How could I forget? No, you're right. With the little snippet we saw her, she brought it.
She brought it. Well, let's go ahead and talk about each individual entrance, because last night the women brought looks, and that's to say something, because all you literally do is walk out and pose and get in the cage.
As DS would spell it, they brought LEWKS. Looks.
2 things that I have to point out as far as looks go last night. Number 1, Candice LeRae's Poison Pixie has never looked better. Those black wings that she walked out in, I was like, this is this gimmick coming full circle. And then we cannot continue this review without talking about Shotzi Blackheart's new tank.
If we're talking looks, I was going to say we cannot continue without talking about Shotzi Blackheart's 80s crimped hair in all of its loveliness.
As soon as I saw her crimped hair and the gear that she was wearing, I instantly thought Raquel Diaz from old school NXT, like the exfoliating ugly tour. I was like,
yes.
Wait, but yeah, Shotzi was serving, and then that jacked up tank coming out and actually firing things. Like, I cannot wait for a Shotzi Blackheart WrestleMania, because a full-fledged tank that she's going to ride out on is going to be amazing.
You know what I was thinking about, and I know this will never come to fruition, but how she has that huge skull on the front of her tank. Every time I see it, I can't help but think of Triple H's The Game. And like, I don't know if we could get like an intergender match where like they came out together, but could you imagine just like the culmination of all the amazing entrances Triple H ever had, mixed with Shotzi Blackheart's tank, like the aesthetic of that, I could die.
I could literally die happy, but we both know that Stephanie McMahon ain't gonna let no other woman take her place.
We'll work her in there somehow, I'm sure.
Let's go ahead and dive into the overall match itself, because there were just spot after spot in this match. It started off with Dakota Kai and Ember Moon, who just slugged it out and beat the crap out of each other. I think Dakota Kai is kind of an unsung hero in this match, because from the get-go, she just kept pulling out kick after move after move and just didn't stop.
Team Kick, do we expect anything less?
I don't expect anything less, but I also didn't expect her to just come out there and go as hard as she did, because for me, you've got her in a ring with a veritable, veteran in Ember Moon. I thought Dakota Kai outshone Ember Moon in the beginning of that match.
Like, summing up, and I should maybe say this at the end, the entire match, there were so many times in every part of this match, I was like, ooh, she has the hunger to really be here. But I said that at least once about every competitor. Like, all of them, just they had their shining moment. Dakota Kai's, I'm not going to say her only shining moment was the beginning, but you're 100% correct that she overshined Ember Moon at the beginning. But I also think that was good storytelling, like, because it's making you think the heel team is going to get over on the face team.
So Dakota Kai held her on for a little bit, and then it led to that really creative missile drop kick to Dakota Kai off of Ember Moon's shoulders, which was...
That's one of the things I have written down, so thank you for bringing it up.
They seem to plan out these transition moves to kind of wait for the next competitor to come in perfectly. There was the little backcracker spot that led to Shotzi running in. There was that missile drop kick that then brought in Raquel González. And then once Raquel González hit that ring, all bets were off.
Well, we're not there yet, but there was one time in the match where Raquel and Rhea Ripley had a face-off, and the announcer said, "Our two greatest Lady Titans having a stare down." I know that sounds so cheesy, but that's what I thought. Like Raquel González is a Lady Titan, and Rhea Ripley is too in her own right.
Raquel González came in. The things that she can do, Wade Barrett kept referring to her as the X Factor of the match, and I think that should just be her gimmick, just be the X Factor, because that's a good sounding name for what she brings to the table.
The leader of Nexus would know.
Raquel came in, which then brought in Rhea Ripley, and then we had, of course, our Titans.
Clash of the Lady Titans. Kind of sounds cheesy.
It sounds like a movie that I would watch.
True.
It's like Xena Warrior Princess. Just
mixed with like Wonder Woman's Island.
Rhea Ripley came in and just pretty much slugged it out with Raquel González the entire time. And then the one that really didn't excite me that much, the kind of sleeper in this match, was Toni Storm,
which I didn't expect her to feel like a sleeper, but I agree. I was kind of just like, well.
I know. Out of all the women that kind of got to come into the match, she literally felt like she had the least impact whenever she came in. I think it was just because she immediately went for like the precursor into going for later offense. Because when Toni came in, she wasn't going in to fight people. She came in and she was grabbing weapons and she was tearing off turnbuckles.
That's her kind of swag though, so I get it.
I do get it, but I think it cost her some of the attention that she could have gotten in the match a little bit. And then that led to Io Shirai coming in. That's when the ringer, Miss Indy Hartwell, came in and kept Io Shirai from getting in the ring.
When Io was trying to come into the ring and the gate gets open, there's this nice spot between Raquel and Io where Raquel pushes the gate at Io. She comes back. I forget how the chair gets in there. I think Io throws it in there and Raquel picks it up. Raquel then tries to block her. Io uses the top of the gate, swings her feet in, pushes the chair against Raquel González. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is golden. But it doesn't stop there. Then we see Raquel González close the gate. And then here comes her partner on her team, Toni Storm, being very creative, like, no, she's the genius of the sky. We can't get her in here. Takes off her belt, her signature belt on her gear, closes the gate, puts it around it, and is holding the gate open. Well, she just said, Io's the genius of the sky. Io starts climbing the gate, and before we even realize what's happening in the background, Raquel González has picked up Shotzi Blackheart and launches her into the gate, knocking Io Shirai off, giving her a huge back bump onto the ground, and thus still not allowing her to get in, giving Indy Hartwell the time to get down there in her fabulous neck brace.
I love everything about it. And then Candice LeRae just making her way down into the ring after that. In that whole Io Shirai versus Raquel trying to get into the ring, there is one spot for me that I just cackled. It was when Raquel's holding the gate shut. Io's got the kendo stick and she just kind of baps on her fingers.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to keep.
To some people, that spot isn't going to seem like it's a huge impact, but I think everyone who played a part in that played it so smartly, played it so like ingenuitive, and it was so accustomed to their gimmick. Even Toni Storm, that belt is like a thing we don't see on a lot of people's gears. Like, we see it on her. That is like one of her signature items on her gear. Like, just being smart to take it off. I just loved everything about it.
Following that was Candice LeRae getting into the ring. Everyone's trying to still keep Io out. And finally, after a failed pinfall attempt, because the match still hasn't officially started, we got literally the spot of WarGames for me, which was Io Shirai up on top of the cage, covering herself in a trash can, and then just diving on off. I call that Oscar the Grouching your way into a match.
Listen, I can't even do a dive like that confidently when I can see where I'm diving and being very comfortable with the people I'm diving to, having full trust in them. I cannot imagine putting a steel garbage can around myself and not even having the visual to be able to self-correct where I need to fall if all of those women aren't there to catch me. Like, that's not just good wrestling. That is just... she must trust those women so much, but she landed it perfectly. Like, that's just having full confidence in her own abilities, knowing she knew exactly where she was going and this was going to work.
Exactly. And then also, I just want to talk about how cute her face was as she was putting that trash can on, because she's just like...
She's fabulous. She's phenomenal.
That spot will be down in the history books. Like, I can't imagine it not making highlight reel after highlight reel after highlight reel.
DS shared a clip of it and said that it's his most favorite spot of 2020, Flying Trash Can. To which I say, Flying Trash Can is a great name for 2020 altogether.
I mean, that's what Io was doing last night, was pure performance art. She was channeling 2020.
Yeah. I am 2020!
It's the perfect time to try it, but that's not the only time the trash can came into play during this match, because once Io was in the ring, all chaos just broke loose. These women were hitting each other.
Wonderful way.
The spot that I wanted to reference real quick was just Dakota Kai coming off the top rope to double stomp that trash can closed over Io Shirai. So many cool things with the trash can.
Was her double stomping the trash can onto her, it like fully engulfing Io, and then her taking some time to like try to get Io very quizzically out of it. Like, she's like trying to open the trash can, like, I put you in there, but I didn't be free to stay.
It's just like instant regret.
Ember and Raquel kind of like held hands to let Io jump on top of them, Power Ranger style, and then lunge herself into Raquel González, who was holding a chair, thus again getting Raquel one of these with a chair, and Shotzi held her there.
That was one of the best sells I've ever seen.
In the ring, or what I just did?
What you just did. The finale, though, the finish of this match with Raquel González just one-arm power bombing Io Shirai through that ladder.
I remember on the live we were doing, all of us were just like, what? Is that the end? Like, it happened so quick, out of nowhere. Other matches, if something like this happened, I think I wouldn't have liked it, but this was so perfect. It was so surprising.
It made it heavenly, and it was also just, I want to be surprised like that, and I want storyline to progress. And this is progressing so naturally, because honestly, I think this is setting up Raquel González to go for that NXT Women's Championship. It seemed like it was going to try to go more towards Candice LeRae, but she's had her shot, you know? I honestly can't think of anyone better on the roster right now that could take that belt off of Io Shirai.
Correct. And then I can only imagine if they give Shotzi another try, like the shiz she will come up with trying to beat Raquel. It's just like giving it to Raquel sets up so many options. I just hope they don't blow it. But to be fair, NXT hardly blows it. We're in store for something spectacular.
The only thing that I'm hoping is that this is leading to Rhea Ripley heading up to the main roster and not staying on the NXT roster in order to feud with Raquel. I really hope they give that slot to Shotzi.
There's literally nothing else Rhea Ripley needs out of NXT. She's done it all. We just hope that she doesn't get called up only to just sit there and not be used the way she ought to. That's the only thing that scares me. That's the only plus about her staying in NXT is she is the fellow Lady Titan as is Raquel, and it sets up for both of them to like have some good stuff going. But I do agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring up Shotzi to Raquel's level, and let's push Rhea even farther up.
That's what I'm hoping. I think Shotzi be a great person to come in. The only question that leaves is if they take that belt off of Io Shirai, where does that leave Io Shirai? Maybe also destined for the main roster.
I think she's one of the only people. We talked about this last night, how it seems like they're not using Asuka for some reason. I think she's one of the only people that can give Asuka a run for her money. And I think she needs to be brought up.
Oh my God, I need it.
Happens, right? Can you imagine?
I can
and that
imagine.
would just bring life back to the main roster.
That would be the best thing they could possibly do is bring Io Shirai to face Asuka. I would love every second of that.
Joey.
Moxie?
What is your boom
blast moment of the
War Games?
I'm curious to see if we both have the same boom blast moment. So count of three, just shout out at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
Raquel throwing Chauncey into the cage to knock her down. Well, I kind of knew that's where you were going to go, so I chose a different boom blast. I sold it earlier where I was telling you how Toni Storm was holding the belt, Raquel's picking up Shotzi, Shotzi's getting lunged into the gate to also throw Io down. Here comes Indy Hartwell, like... Gosh, there was so much action.
So much action. This was honestly one of my favorite matches of the year. This is a great way to close down 2020 for NXT, and it's a good way to kind of parlay the title picture and the women's division into New Year's Evil that's happening on January 7th.
I like the name New Year's Evil if Shotzi is hosting it because it just feels like it goes with her vibes. But when I heard New Year's Evil, I was like, oh.
I'm trying to picture who they're kind of like setting up to be like the main eventer for New Year's Evil. Maybe it's Dexter Lumis?
Maybe.
That's about the only person I can see, but we don't talk about him. This is women's wrestling show.
Maybe they'll use 2020 as a year. It's been the most evil year I've lived through.
That's very fair. But we loved WarGames. WarGames was great. Hey, Moxie.
Hey, Joey.
Where can the people find you? You can find me at Joey_Mayberry on Instagram and Twitter, or DadBodDemigod on TikTok.
You can find me across all social media platforms at like Paul Heyman said, that's THEE. I said it first. Moxie Molly.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching Ring the Bell. If you like us, please go ahead and ring that bell so you're notified when we post videos. If you haven't already, subscribe and click that button. We has a Patreon. Please go check that out. And if you like t-shirts, you can get ones with our faces on it on our Teespring.
If you go to the Patreon, a new feature that was just added, you can be invited to a Ring the Bell exclusive Discord where you could chat with the likes of Joey Mayberry, DS Shin, Paloma Star, and yours truly, Moxie Molly.
Yes.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye, guys.